Welcome to the Waxing Podcast. I'm Kirsten Getzelman, esthetician, educator, and your host. Each week, we'll dive into real conversations, industry tips, and the kind of advice every beauty pro should have in their back pocket. This show is sponsored by Enso, a woman and esthetician founded brand bringing better options to everyday beauty pros. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to the Waxing Podcast. This is Kirsten. I'm your host. Sometimes I'm sure you're thrilled, and sometimes you're like, girly, stop talking. I am Tampa Waxer on Instagram. I am Enso Wax on Instagram. I am the Waxing Podcast on Instagram, and those are my socials. And today, we're going right into questions from the last episode. See this as like a part 2 episode. Yes, I did a part 1 already. If you haven't seen it, you don't need to because they're just questions. We're going off to new questions this time. But if you want to keep up in order, go to part 1. I also do like a full life update in terms of like business and West Palm. And I kind of rambled a lot. So I won't do that to you this time. We'll go right into the juicy stuff. Sometimes I'm like, what is my age? I forget because I'm feeling hyper like a child right now. I'm a grown ass bitch and I'm just like feeling giggly and I don't know why. Sorry. I'm like not meaning to be all up in your grill with this personality right now, but here we are. Hey, you guys ready? I feel good. I feel good. And I think it's because you guys have like, if you've watched enough of these, you'll know that like I come into my studio on a Monday, I record all these and then I go head out to lunch, meaning I like don't eat until I'm done. This time I did eat before I came. So like, guys, this may be the trick. The trick is like eat and don't wait and don't like let your body cry at 1 p.m. because you're hungry and you need to go get lunch. So I ate. I have my little drink next to me. I have my little side table that I know you guys can hardly see. You can see like a little bit of my little penny sticking out. Okay. Today's episode is going to be all questions. I always say questions are my favorite episodes because you guys probably have them even if you didn't think to ask them. So let's go ahead and get started. Question number 1. What are the top mistakes that you see estheticians make while performing a Brazilian wax? Normally it's this. It's either posture that's not built for long term for your body, or I see people always checking in with their client too much and not focusing on the job at hand. I know you guys are empaths. I get it. But like your client knows what they signed up for. And I feel like, making sure that they're good in other ways rather than being like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Because like they're not okay. They're not. They're getting a Brazilian wax. Their 15 minutes of pain is happening. They're not okay, but they're okay because they're with you and you're making it as best as it can be. So I think those are like the 2 big ones that I see. I also feel like putting pressure on a client's skin after a Brazilian is something that I think people could, do better on and not so much as like tapping them, but like really pressing and changing the way that they're thinking about that pain. And finally, the pulling taut. Not enough people have their clients helping their appointment, right? Pulling their skin taut, pulling a leg taut, pulling somewhere that helps the skin tighten so that you can do your job better. I think people get so worked up and worried about how a client feels about that. And at the end of the day, I want them to take the mindset off of that and know that like your client's going to feel better if you're making their appointment feel better. Question number 2. What are your go-to waxes for sensitive clients with coarse hair? So this is a really great question because I do have 3 waxes. I have Penny soft wax, I have patina soft wax, and I have hard wax. And so all of these waxes I think can intertwine into one another, but definitely there's waxes that I like for different reasons. So Penny soft wax is kind of like the do everything for everybody wax. So Penny soft wax spreads thin. It is like a little translucent so you can see the hair underneath so you can really see where it's going. It is a low temperature so it feels good on all areas, not just areas that aren't particularly sensitive to heat. So people love that in Brazilian areas, lip area, like anywhere that you're more sensitive. Penny soft wax is also, I would say, like a wax that you can use so little of and get so much out of. So like that's really good for like legs and stuff like that, but specifically for sensitive clients or coarse hair. So like sensitive clients, all of our waxes are good for that because every single wax is vegan, hypoallergenic, fragrance free, low temperature, minimal ingredients. We don't have filler ingredients in any of the products. So we don't, pointlessly put in things. And I always use like the same three, but like any additive, lavender, zinc, I mean, you name it. And to be honest, it's pointless. It's not doing anything for the client. If anything, it's only harming you because if that client is allergic to any of that stuff, you can't use the wax. And it didn't need to be in there in the first place. So we really just took all of that mess out, all of the crap. We took it all out. So that's why it's really good for sensitive skin. Now our patina variable of our soft wax uses titanium, so titanium dioxide. And so what titanium dioxide does is it acts as a binder for more coarse hair. And so not only does it make the wax more viscous and thicker, literally changing it from gel to cream, but it actually is really great for picking up those even more coarse hair. So we added that ingredient in because that ingredient is actually changing and making a difference in the formulation. So that is what I would say to that. And then penny hard wax is truly that wax that does everything. So if it's coarse hair, spread it a little thicker. If it's non-coarse hair or you're trying to get the vellus hairs, then you can actually spread this thinner and pull right away. And this wax is really velvety, so people like it, especially if they're sensitive or have coarse hair, because it really goes over the area without tugging the hair, which is such a winner for clients, which is why majority of what we hear, at least on our end, is people saying, wow, my clients have never talked about what was in my wax before, or I should say my wax warmer before. Like it's been really fun getting to have these conversations with my clients that aren't just wrapped around aftercare, but instead of like what's making the service do exactly what it's doing, which is like, wow, your wax feels different, or this feels a lot better. Like the temperature is not as hot, warm, whatever you want to call it. Number three, how do you know if your wax temperature is right with relying on too much of the dial? So, one of the things that I always want to say when talking about wax in general, your dial is never going to be your area of where you look at to find out if that temperature is right, correct? So, when you start your day and you turn on your wax warmers, you can always gauge it to the same number, right? So, like anytime you read a label on the back of wax, it says, start your timer between X and X. So like 65 to 75, you can start there. But what you do after that always depends on a lot of different things. Are you in a humid room? Are you in a high air conditioning room? What is, how much is your lid off? How much is your lid on? Like all of those things are going to change the scenario. And so I always say, always gauge it on by what the wax feels like. And then worst case, if you're unsure, use it on the back of your arm and see, does it feel too warm? That's a sensitive spot. So like if you are going to test it on anybody, test it on yourself and see, is it too warm? Yes. Okay. Turn it down. Is it too cool? Yes. You can turn it up. And that's always how we do it, right? Like that honey like consistency where it can drip off the stick, but you can control it if you twirl it. So, like, a lot of people always think that they're looking for something that's almost like too cool, where it's like, on the stick, like up. But I'm like, no, you still want it to be runny. Like, you still want to like be able to spread it thin. So, like, make sure it's runny, but make sure as long as you can control it on the stick, you're good, girl. You're good. Okay. Next is, how do you handle clients who say waxing hurts like when they come in? Meaning I kind of see this as like, what do you do when a client is like, hang on, I need a minute. Hang on, hold on. This feels really, really bad. So my thing to this is just like always making sure that you have your client fully aware of what's going to happen. The more that you don't leave up to their imagination, the more they can brace themselves. So for instance, like I teach this in my Brazilian class. So I let every single client that I know that come through my door that are new, I let them know every single thing I'm doing. So I always say, like, first, I'm going to start out with your bikini line. I'm going to start out with your bikini line, not only because it's the easiest part of your Brazilian wax, but because it's also the least amount of pain. Leading them up to that. And I also then include, I'm going to go over this area like faster than all the other areas because of that reason. So, like, three things that I just did. I let them know that I'm going to speed up this process so that when I do speed up the process, they're not like holding on like a roller coaster ride. They're like, okay, she's going through this space because it's going to make it faster for me. I also mentioned that it's the least amount of pain. So that kind of gives them an idea of like, okay, let me just like chill out. This is going to be the easy part of the ride. And then the third part is because it's the easiest part of the Brazilian, it's like a flat surface. So, like, giving them those clues on what to look forward to in their appointment. And then, whenever you do get to the hard parts, you have them breathe, you have them, you put pressure on it, you try to make it as comfortable as possible so that they are fully aware of like areas that are not going to feel good versus areas that are going to feel more tolerable. So, like, just keeping your client in the know. And then when they ask you, like, what do people say about Brazilians? Like, is it the worst? And I always tell them, I don't gauge people's pain tolerances against one another because everyone's pain tolerance is different. Like, I have had clients, and you have too, who lay on the bed and they are in their meetings at their work. And then you also have clients who can't concentrate or like need to breathe or need to talk through the whole experience, right? So, like, I never gauge pain off of each and every client. Every single client is different. What are your favorite prep and post care tips for reducing redness and irritation? So for me, for the brows, my favorite post care right now has been obviously a product that alleviates that. So right now I'm using fur oil. But also, I really like the wand that I got on Amazon. It's a USB wand. You can type in just like USB cooling wand and it will come right up. But this is really good for post irritation on the client's face. That's been a really big game changer. And my clients look forward to it a lot when they come into my loft. And then same with like body, just making sure you have a good post care that is hydrating the skin, helping the skin with redness, irritation, all of that stuff, right? Just making sure everything has the right ingredients for your client and for your treatment room. How can you tell when it's time to replace any of your products that are not like wax? So, like tools. That's a good question. I also feel like most of the time we're really just talking about like tweezers and wax warmers. You guys, let's have a hand to hand moment. I have seen the most fuggliest wax warmers on the market for quite some time, but nothing is fugglier than the wax warmers rusting on the inside because you guys have like warmed it up for too long to where it's like almost deteriorating that aluminum. When that happens, it's time to get a new warmer. Like, we cannot sit there with those crusty, dusty warmers housing our amazing products. So just please, please, if you see the rust, it's time to dust. It's time to, that was the only thing that rhymed. When you see the rust, it's time to dust on out of there. Tools. Tweezers, once they become dull, instead of just tossing them because they are expensive, especially the ones that I like Browaholics tweezers. Those are my favorite. There's also been tweezers that I'm obsessed with lately that a girl gave me, and her name's Jessica. She gave it to me at the trade show in New York. JB Beauty, I think, is the name, and they're body tweezers, but I like love them for the face. They're like crooked, if you will, like just like they're bigger. I don't know. They like really grab that hair. But you guys can take a nail filer and nail file the fun tip. You can nail file it. So sometimes the tools will come with that, but if not, you can just purchase one on Amazon and then just file them to get sharp again. So doing that and then making sure you're just taking care of your stuff, like cleaning it in dial dish soap at night and like hand drying it and setting them out is really good. Not keeping them in your barbicide at night. That's a clear way to get your products to disintegrate a lot faster. Those are like my two tips there. And then let's get into a little bit of like general and mindset questions. I always look, oh, I guess we're only like 14 minutes in. We're good. I never want to like yap too much. Okay. What's one thing that you wish you knew when you first started your esthetician career? One thing that I wish I would have known when I first started my esthetician career is that number one, as long as you're having a good time and that you love what you do, everything's going to work out. Someone else's success and the capacity that they're having it in does not equal or equate to the success that you're having and does not mean you're not having success. And then number three, I wish I would have understood branding and messaging and just figuring out where I wanted to go from the get go. And I think, a part of me feels and could say that that's why I'm here today and I'm teaching it because I didn't go through that. But if I could always help somebody else, that's something that I would say is like, know where you're going, know where you want 10 years to look like, and then follow that version of, like never work for today's you, work for 10-year you. I hope that in 10 years from now or 5 years from now, I can look back at this girl who I am now and be so proud of her because she was working really hard for me in 2020 when I launched the podcast, right? Me at 2025 looks back at 2020 me and I'm like, thank you so much for doing that because you've opened the doors to so many things that I've gotten to do because of that. Like, thank you so much for choosing to release something that you were scared to release or feeling stupid or feeling insecure because you thought nobody would listen. Like, thank you so much for doing that because you did that and you are the reason why I got to work globally for a brand, why I've gotten to attend trade shows, while I've gotten to meet some of my best friends, how I've gotten to be introduced to big brands who I'm still close with today, how I've gotten to travel, how I've gotten to start Enso. Like, it's all because of her that I got to do that. And so when you can think about her in terms of long term, your long term version thanks you right back. So that's what I would say to that. How do you balance social media content creation with working full time in your job? The best kind of way I can say this is like, maybe stop putting them side by side, like content creation and my job. Your job is content creation. Your content creation is your job. And I don't mean you have to do these things, but if you want to be on if you want to do content, right? Like, there's people that don't post at all that are fully booked, and that's because they're utilizing other platforms. They're utilizing their emails, they're utilizing Facebook ads, they're utilizing billboards, they're utilizing word of mouth. Like, there's a ton of things that are happening in the back end of businesses that so many people don't understand. They think if you're not posting on social, you're not busy. That's not true. It could be more from the truth. However, if you enjoy social media and you want it to be a part of your growing business, then you need to look at it as if it's a part of that structure. So, like, you build time, you put time into your calendar that fits for you to make content. You keep ideas on the back burner. You stop your car in a red light and write down the idea that was just in your head. You kind of keep a running note of like, "Ooh, I could do this next time." Like, you kind of just make it your everyday. It's like working out, right? Working out is so uncomfortable until you don't know anything else, until all of a sudden not going to the gym is weirder. Same with content. It's the same exact thing. You have to get uncomfy for it to then feel comfortable. Like, for me, I've been doing content for so long that, like, if I ever ghosted my Instagram for a month, that wouldn't feel right. That would feel weird and that would feel very, I don't know. It wouldn't feel very me. I have allowed content to be who I am, therefore I do content. Does that make sense? What's something that you stopped doing in your business that made it so much better? I would say that I stopped doing services that I didn't want to do. So, like, if there were services on my book that didn't make me excited for that person to come in and do, I took it off. So, like, for me, it was arms, it was full leg, it was lash lifts. Like, I did not love doing them. When I saw them on my books, I was kind of like, ugh. Honestly, though, I'm kind of having this moment with lash lifts. I'm like, should I bring them back? My only issue with lash lifts is like not the right people come in for them. Like, lash lifts are so much better when the right client comes in. But I hadn't had that happen in so long that I was like, I'm just going to get rid of it. What's been the hardest lesson for you to learn as a business owner? Wow, wow, wow. What has been the hardest lesson that I've learned as a business owner? Being a business owner has so many benefits and has so many more good things, I would say, than bad things. You also kind of decide like what's your trade-off for having a business. Mine has been freedom. Like, I want to be able to go and volunteer at my son's school at Friday at 1 o'clock. Like, I don't, no exception. Like, I don't want to ask somebody. I want to just have it in my calendar that's what I'm doing. Just like I want to be able to go pick him up at 2 o'clock on Thursday if I want. That's always been my goal, is to have freedom. I want to have a friend call me because she wants to do a little lunch and have a glass of wine on a Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And I can do that. And those are the things that I love about having a business. But I think one of the hardest things about having a business is just like having no consistency on like what's next in terms of it all could end tomorrow. You don't want it to, and you hope that you set a system up so that it doesn't happen. And like, there's obviously ways to make sure that that doesn't happen. But like, you, at the end of the day, never, ever know. And there's always that possibility. And I think that's definitely the hardest part of business. I also think in business, like you do have to make tough decisions. You do have to let people down for the bigger picture. You do have to make that, like, calls that might not be good calls. You do have to go, take a left in the fork in the road and realize the right was the right decision all along. And then you have to turn around and you have to backtrack and then you have to go right. Like there's so much inconsistency to owning a business where, like, no matter what systems you have in place, no matter how good you think you've gotten it, there's always a wrench that gets thrown in. There's always that phone call that, like, for me at least, that inventory is unexpectedly low, and by the time we fill it, it's not going to be enough by the time it sells out, and then by the time it sells out, we still have this many weeks until it's produced, and then it's produced, and then it's, the tariffs are happening, and then it's at the port, and then when it gets to the port, it's still, it's back, it's on the back burner because the port is so full because people haven't fulfilled their tariff orders, and because they haven't fulfilled their tariff orders, those freaking crates aren't moving, and because the freaking crates aren't moving, they don't have anywhere to put my crate. And, like, you just have to, like, deal with it. I had a conversation with my mom not terribly too long ago, and it was like I was, like, scared because I'm like, Mom, I've built something that, like, seems kind of big. Like, I've built something that maybe in 5 years I think is small, but right now it doesn't feel so small, and I'm scared that I'm gonna disappoint people, and I'm scared that I'm not gonna know how to do it right because I didn't go to business school and I didn't get my CEO Harvard degree, and, those are just things we all have. We all have those feelings. No matter how big and small our businesses are, those are, like, real, like, fears that we all have. So I would say the hardest part about owning your business is just, like, kind of staying in, like, a good mindset and knowing, I don't know, like, some days I'm like, hell yeah, I got this. Like, yeah, I'm the CEO of all these things. And then other days I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot on my plate. Me? Why me? Did I really think I could do this? And it's like, yeah, you can. So does that answer that question? And then finally, how do you deal with slow months without panicking? So, how I deal with slow months without panicking is, instead of panicking, use that time more wisely to do other things. So, whether that's set up automations in the back end with the 3 hours that I now have available, whether that's you who goes into Target and gets people to book on your books for free because you're thinking free is better than nobody. It's just kind of like getting a little nitty-gritty and, like, kind of going back to, like, that old school marketing technique. Like, there was something that I got taught at the summit when I was there that I really enjoyed, and it was these people who own these $100 million brands. And one of the advices that they gave is, like, there's no better version of you than a version of you who's scrappy. Like, when you have little to no resources, you have a little to no money to spend doing extravagant shit, you will find out very fast just how creative you are. And I really, like, took that advice to heart because, I mean, they're right. It's like, you, in the time of, like, needing to make money as a business owner, like, you will find yourself getting very, very creative with marketing. And marketing is like, I mean, it kind of, to me, is like a spectrum, kind of like, autism. And I say this, my son, he's on the spectrum, but, like, it's huge. Marketing, just like the autism spectrum, is vast. And, there's extreme ways to do marketing. There's subtle ways to do marketing. There's easy ways to do marketing. There's hard ways to do marketing. Like, marketing lives on so many different types of avenues. And I feel like getting scrappy and realizing that kind of everything is marketing is the key, right? Like, do I have 100 million people on this platform listening to this podcast right now? No, but I have a voice and I have something to say, and whoever wants to listen to it can. And in the payback of all of that is, like, this is a form of marketing. Like, you hopefully are bought into, like, what I say, what I do, like, you have some sort of alignment. Like, this is all very helpful for the overall picture. And I honestly just like being here. But, like, same goes with you. It's like, if you go out and you go to Target and you grab that one client, you don't know if that one client is a yapster on Facebook. And all of a sudden you gave her a free service. She just got a compliment on her brows. And then someone in the Facebook group asked, hey, is there anybody in Tampa that does brows? And she's like, oh my God, you guys won't believe. Like, and then all of a sudden your doors are booked. Like, your doors are booked, your books are booked. So like you really don't know what marketing can do. And it's always with your when you're more scrappy that you're gonna get it done. You're gonna get it done. Okay, you guys. Rapid questions part 2 is complete. Let me know if you like the questions. If you enjoy listening to the questions, will you DM me? And then also, I do have to ask this because I haven't asked this in so long. But if you're somebody who listens to the podcast and you have never wrote a review for the podcast, will you please go down and write that review? It is so helpful for me because what it does is when people type in waxing or what they're interested in Apple, Spotify, anywhere, that algorithm says, you know what, this girl has been getting a lot of tractions in her reviews. And so because of that, the people that are looking for this now are going to get viewed this. So like it helps me become found and it helps you help another esthetician out. And then always word of mouth. So like if you know somebody in school that wants to learn more about waxing, send them my way. Okay, you guys, I hope this inspired you. I hope this helped you, or I hope this lit a fire in you. I am Kirsten. I am so excited that you're here. I love you so, so much. And I will see you for the next episode. Thank you for listening to the Waxing Podcast. If you found today's conversation helpful, be sure to follow the show and leave a review. It helps continue creating resources for beauty pros just like you. For updates and more, follow us on Instagram at The Waxing Podcast. I'll see you next week.